Before I get into this story, 10 Quid says Tim Pool cannot talk about this without using the phrase civil war. But in case you lot have been asleep for the past 10 hours, which is likely, the FBI has raided Trump's Florida home and the world has seemingly lost their marbles over it. So I want to go over 2 articles here, yes, I'm spoiling you all today, and give my own assessment to all of this at the end. So, from the Daily Wire. Details emerge about what FBI agents were searching for in raid on Trump home, report says. Agents with the FBI executed a search warrant Monday at the Florida home of former President Donald Trump that appeared to be connected to classified material that was allegedly at the home. You know, when the establishment apparatus uses the phrase allegedly, it means they have no fucking justification or evidence for the bullshit they're trying to do whatsoever. The investigation is focused on material that Trump had brought with him to Mar-a-Lago, his private club and residence, after he left the White House, the New York Times reported. Those boxes contain many pages of classified documents. Multiple reports later confirmed that the raid was connected to the missing White House records. The report said that Trump delayed returning more than a dozen of boxes of material to the National Archives, which included documents that were marked as classified national security information. Federal prosecutors opened a grand jury investigation back in May into Trump over whether classified material that ended up at his home in Mar-a-Lago was mishandled. The main purpose of these types of investigations is usually for federal authorities to determine if any classified material was compromised so that intelligence officials can take steps to protect sensitive sources and methods. Prosecutors are seeking to learn every aspect of how the documents were handled from the time the documents left the White House until they were returned to the National Archives. For prosecutors to be able to prove that a crime was committed, they would need evidence showing that the parties involved in removing the documents from the White House knew that the documents were classified and knew that removing them would violate the law. Trump also faces criminal investigation from the Justice Department over alleged efforts to overturn the 2020 election results. Yeah, and that is what the January 6th committee was supposed to expose, and they didn't find jack shit. If they did, they wouldn't have raided his residency. Again, this is all a political witch hunt. And by the way, am I the only one that finds it highly ironic that these people who scream about tyranny all damn day, yet they will happily weaponize the state for openly partisan political power grabs, all the while screaming Trump is a threat to democracy? It's more concerning to me that the people can't see the projection that's now so strong it can carve the acronym DNC on the bloody moon. The report said that there were 2 areas that the DOJ is broadly looking at that could end up ensnaring Trump in some way, including seditious conspiracy and conspiracy to obstruct a government proceeding, which are what some of the rioters were charged with, and charges involving potential fraud with using fake electors of trying to pressure government officials to falsely claim that the election was Prosecutors have reportedly questioned former White House officials in front of a grand jury about any conversations that Trump or his advisors may have allegedly had about trying to replace electors in states that Biden won with pro-Trump electors. Prosecutors have also reportedly asked about Trump's alleged attempt to pressure Vice President Mike Pence to overturn the results of the election and any instructions that Trump may have given his legal team about fake electors. Attorney charlatan General Merrick Garland said during an interview with NBC News Tuesday evening that the criminal investigation into the events of January 6 was the most wide-ranging investigation in its history, and there will be things that the DOJ finds that the House Select January 6 committee haven't found. Yeah, sure. When asked by anchor Lester Holt about whether indicting Trump would tear the country apart, Garland responded, "We intend to hold anyone who was criminally responsible for the events surrounding January 6 for any attempts to interfere with the lawful transfer of power from one administration to another accountable. That's what we do," he continued. "We don't pay any attention to other issues with respect to that." When asked if Trump announcing another campaign for president would impact how the DOJ would proceed with the case, Garland responded, "I'll say again that we hold accountable anyone who was criminally responsible for attempting to interfere with the legitimate, lawful transfer of power from one administration to the next. You fucking liar." And from the president himself, the FBI on Monday conducted an unannounced raid of Mar-a-Lago, former President Donald Trump's home in Palm Beach, Florida. These are dark times for our nation, as my beautiful home, Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach, Florida, is currently under siege, raided and occupied by a large group of FBI agents, Trump wrote in a press release. The former president did not say why FBI agents were conducting the search warrant, but noted that they even broke into his safe. Nothing like this has ever happened to a president of the United States before. After working and cooperating with the relevant government agencies, this unannounced raid on my home was not necessary or appropriate. It is prosecutorial misconduct, the weaponization of the justice system, and an attack by radical left Democrats who desperately don't want me to run for president in 2024. Agreed, especially based on recent polls, and who will likewise do anything to stop Republicans and conservatives in the upcoming midterm elections. Such an assault could only take place in broken third world countries. Sadly, America has now become one of those countries, corrupt at a level not seen before. They even broke into my safe. What is the difference between this and Watergate, where operatives broke into the Democratic National Committee? Here, in reverse, Democrats broke into the home of the 45th President of the United States. The political prosecution of President Donald J. Trump has been going on for years, with the now fully debunked Russia scam, impeachment hoax number 1, impeachment hoax number 2, and so much more. It just never ends. It is political targeting at the highest level. Hillary Clinton was allowed to delete and acid wash 33,000 emails after they were subpoenaed by Congress. Absolutely nothing has happened to hold her accountable. She even took antique furniture and other items from the White House. I stood up to America's bureaucratic corruption, I restored power to the people, and truly delivered for our country like we have never seen before. The establishment hated it. Now, as they watch my endorsed candidates win big victories and see my dominance in all polls, they are trying to stop me, and the Republican Party once more. The lawlessness, political persecution, and witch hunt must be exposed and stopped. Constitutional lawyer Alan Dershowitz explained the gravity of the situation on Newsmax as news of the raid broke. The law is clear. You don't engage in a raid unless you've exhausted all other remedies, he said. Raids are a last resort. The New York Times reported that the raid appeared to be focused on White House documents he had brought with him to Mar-a-Lago when he left office. Those boxes contained many pages of classified documents, according to a person familiar with their contents. Mr. Trump delayed returning 15 boxes of material requested by officials with the National Archives for many months, only doing so when there became threat of action being taken to retrieve them. In February, Trump said that the media's portrayal of his relationship with the National Archives and Records Administration was fake news. It was exactly the opposite. It was a great honor to work with the NARA to help formally preserve the Trump legacy, Trump said in a press release on February 10, 2022. Following collaborative and respectful discussions, the National Archives and Records Administration openly and willingly arranged with President Trump for the transport of boxes that contained letters, records, newspapers, magazines, and various articles. Some of this information will someday be displayed in the Donald J. Trump Presidential Library for the public to view my administration's incredible accomplishments for the American people. The former president said the papers were handed over easily and without conflict on a very friendly basis, adding that he considered the matter to be routine and no big deal. In actuality, I have been told I was under no obligation to give this material based on the various legal rulings that have been made over the years. Crooked Hillary Clinton, as an example, deleted and acid-washed 32,000 emails and never gave that to the government. Then, they took large amounts of furniture out of the White House, and Bill Clinton kept numerous audio recordings that the archives wanted, but were unsuccessful at getting after going to court. We won't even mention what is going on with the White House in the current or various past administrations. The search took place on Monday morning, a person familiar with the raid told the New York Times. Agents were reportedly looking for any remaining records that may have remained at Trump's residence. Okay, so my take on all of this, because I was watching a live stream while this was all happening last night, and I very much agree with Dr. Steve Turley. This is a sign of utter desperation of the establishment apparatus, which seems to go to bed every night drowning in a sea of cold sweat or wets themselves at the thought of this man ever holding power again. Because they know what he's going to do. He got a surprising amount done going into it blind and not a lot of support navigating the apparatus as a first-timer. And now that he's seen the apparatus firsthand, his anointed running representatives are killing it at the voting booth, and he's building an army of MAGA First loyalists. Make no mistake, the machine is petrified, scared shitless of this man. They keep exhausting every possibility, and it just doesn't work. And see, here's the thing for me. If this situation wasn't so dire, it would actually be really, really funny. Because here is the long and short of it. Trump showing his hand via his intended game plan, the very thing the establishment is trying to do makes Trump's point for him. Trump comes out and says, I want to take a hammer to the bureaucracy because these people are hopelessly corrupt and drunk on their own power. And what is their response? Quick, weaponize the FBI to stop him from running again. And all that Trump has to do is point to that and go, look, see right there. And yeah, that is a form of tampering with the democratic procedure, because you, the establishment, are trying to stop a popular candidate of the people from being chosen by the people to represent them, which is not very democratic, you people who scream about protecting democracy every 50 fucking seconds. Because evidently they can't stop him. Everything they've tried so far has failed, miserably. The faux impeachment, the sham January 6th committee, and this is a point I don't see anyone else bring up, which is the coordinated relationship between the state apparatus and the media of trying to maintain this facade of credibility, and with every failure, this galvanizes the Trump base and exposes them more and more, the facade of being nonpartisan, which is destroyed by the compounding previous failures, and all the while trying to keep Trump out of the White House and removing Joe Biden from the White House. And it's just not working. It's like trying to walk a tightrope across a thread of floss while carrying a steaming pile of bullshit. And this has so much potential to backfire spectacularly, because not only do you run the risk of opening a lot of eyes, and that includes people who are not really sympathetic to Trump, who might otherwise become more favorable to him, because even for them, this kind of naked power grab makes even them uncomfortable, which again will increase his support. The tighter you squeeze, the more the sand leaks, so to speak. And secondly, considering it's been years and years of this, if they were to miraculously, suddenly find something, how many of Trump's base do you think would actually believe it was legit? Especially with the repeated failed witch hunts of the past, the FBI's political weaponization of all of this, and the apparatus clearly not holding anyone on the other side accountable, like Clinton and the Biden laptop. The credibility of the institutions have been shot to shit. And this looks like a very real potential step too far, even for those who are not fans of Trump. And the last thing this desperate machine wants to do is to increase Trump's support. And it runs a very real risk of doing just that. And that is all for today. I will see you all next time.